This is Lori from Napa Firewise. I just wanted to remind everyone, first of all, thank you for showing up to this new dates, the fourth Wednesday instead of the second Wednesday. This is going to allow all of our fire partners the ability to attend this meeting should nothing else come up. But they had a regularly scheduled meeting, so it was great to be able to move this. So thank you, everybody, for your flexibility. I know we always have a lot to cover, so I'd love to just jump in and get started and hand this off to Joe for Firewise updates. And then Piper has a couple of updates, and I would love to hear from anyone who has anything to update from fire administration or CAL FIRE battalion chiefs. And then Sherry and I will share some updates and then open it up to all of the FSCs. With
Great.
that,
Thanks, Lori. I'll just at a high level, we've got a packed agenda here. So, and many of the updates that I might normally provide will be coming from the different sort of areas within our program, from Lori and from our partners over in fire admin at the county level. We at Firewise are full steam ahead working on gearing up for a round of grant writing seasonality that's coming up. So towards the end of the year, we've got a number of CAL FIRE grants. There's actually one that we're building projects for right now. It's called the Landscape Scale Restoration Project, and then there'll be CAL FIRE Forest Health grants towards the end of the year, and we're sort of in the process of that planning exercise. The one CAL FIRE grant that we normally go after every year is called the Wildfire Prevention Grant. And that the CAL FIRE is skipping that grant program this year. We hope that they'll pick it up next year, but that's one grant that we won't be able to pursue this year. So we're kind of gearing up for a number of different grants that we're pursuing. We are in the process of going through starting a process to reprioritize a number of the projects that we have out there, because we've made a lot of forward progress on what was sort of the 5-year plan. We need to sort of go back through all of the projects that have come out of all of the various fire safe councils. There's new fire safe councils. There's fire safe councils that have updated their CWPPs. And so we're going to be sort of going through an exercise with the battalion chiefs to think about how to prioritize those and think about those projects as we launch into various grant pursuit opportunities. Those are a couple of the highlights that I can bring up. There will be other things that we're covering here with the team. And I know that we are also, Lori, you might speak to the scheduling of the next FSC leads meeting, because we want to carve out some very dedicated time with you to update you on some programs that we've been working on that we're going to launch soon. So the kind of main things that I would cover.
thank you, Joe. And just since we have moved to the fourth week of the month, this is kind of the rough times of the year to do that because we have Thanksgiving, we have the Christmas holiday coming up. So in November and December, we will be looking for an alternate day to meet. In addition, as Joe had mentioned, he would like to, he's planning to cover quite a bit about some new programs. And we think we're going to slate that for November. So we'll be following up with you a little bit more in the next couple of weeks to figure out what are the best times to meet for everyone in November and December. And also wanted to put on your radar when we're talking calendars that we'd love to try and make our January FSC leads meeting an in-person one, if at all possible. So we're looking at a venue. We would probably try and hold it to this Wednesday evening, but just wanted to have that, put that out there 3 months in advance, because I feel like that's about as much notice as we all need to make that happen. So just wanted to put a pin in that item for you to think about. But with that, I want to hand it over to Piper, who has a couple of things she'd like to socialize with us to get some thoughts on. And also Joe will be covering Meter Me. So Piper, I'm just going to hand it off to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lori. So one of the things that we've run into with our Defensible Space program is that there are some residents throughout Napa who, even though they may qualify on the income level for 100% reimbursement, they don't have the cash available to lay it out. So we were trying to figure out what we can do to help them. So we are creating a program, a sort of Neighbors in Need light, inspired by what Joe has done in Mount Veeder. But this would be a program that would be much easier on the FSCs. But those FSCs who sign up for this would allow up to X amount of the funds that are in their designated account to be used on a rolling basis to front the money for the residents who cannot lay it out themselves. And then when their grant reimbursement comes through, the funds will be put back in the designated FSC account. So let me just ask if there are any questions on that overall concept, and then I can go into a little more detail about how that would work.
Yeah, Pepper, I was going to, maybe you're going to do this like walking through a use case. Somebody qualifies for X and just talk through how the money works. I think that would be really helpful.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. So, and it's sort of captured in the flow chart that's on your screen, but that's a little bit hard to read. So let me give you a use case. A resident comes in. We would, once we launch this program, in the self-assessment survey where we already ask if they qualify on the income level, if they are below a certain income level on their adjusted gross income. If they say yes, a question will pop up that asks if they need any financial help to lay out the money for the to pay the contractor, because the grant is a reimbursement grant. If they say yes, then when their electronic paperwork comes through, the Defensible Space Team will get in touch with them. They will, number one, see if they are in a fire safe council that is part of the program, determine whether there is still money in the cap that the fire safe council has set to use in the program, and then verify that the resident is indeed income qualified. We do that anyway for the grant reimbursement, but we would just do it earlier in the program. If it is yes on all of those, then and this is something that's done at the Napa Firewise level. Napa Firewise will basically reserve the funds that are in the FSC designated account. The resident will have 30 days to basically well, this is done once they do their pre-approval and get pre-approved. They'll have 30 days from pre-approval to actually get the work complete. And they will sign an agreement that will assign their right to the grant reimbursement to Napa Firewise on behalf of the FSC. So they pick out their own contractor. The contractor does the work. The contractor submits all of its billing documentation and photos, either from the resident or from the contractor. That's reviewed in the same way by the Defensible Space Team that is reviewed now for grant reimbursement. But on a quicker basis, if it passes the review, then Napa Firewise will pay out of the FSC designated account, will pay the contractor, and at the same time will submit the paperwork for grant reimbursement. The grant reimbursement, when it comes in, will be put back into the FSC designated account. So it's almost like, in quotes, a bridge loan or fronting the money for the resident. And this is only if the FSC of which the resident is a part chooses to participate in the program. But it's a very light obligation on the FSC for any of the logistics of the program. Now, any questions?
Looks like there's a question from Joe Van Orsdal, and he's saying, how long will it take to get the reimbursement typically?
I would say probably, and Lori, you've seen this, I think, more than I have, but I would say probably a couple of weeks. And that's kind of at the outside end.
And I would just add, I mean, Piper is very intimately involved and understands all these various steps. And so there's a level of sort of complexity. She went into a good deal of detail. In the simplest terms, if an FSC agrees to participate in this and the FSC has $15,000 in their FSC account, essentially it only works for people who are disadvantaged income qualified, because they're the ones that essentially would get the entire thing covered. They do not have a cost share obligation. So effectively what would happen is the resident would go through the process, and when it comes time to pay the vendor, they wouldn't pay the vendor. We would essentially pay the vendor on their behalf with the FSC funds, assuming that the FSC agrees. And then we will essentially run the process to get the reimbursement and reimburse the FSC for those funds. So there's essentially no risk to the FSC money, and it allows the cash flow to take place for the resident who's disadvantaged to get the work done. Because for many of these folks to come up with $2,000 or $3,000 it's a burden. They don't have that kind of money to spend and then wait to get reimbursed.
It's also a great way of showing the resident the value that the FSC brings.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully that makes sense conceptually, but I think to Piper's point, if people have questions, we want to make sure that we work to answer them and get folks comfortable with being able to offer that. I think, Piper, if I understand correctly, what we would hope to do is if an FAC says, yes, we're interested, then we have a little agreement that we would sign, or do we have to sign an agreement every single time there's a resident that wants to participate?
Now,
Yeah.
one-time agreement, but the FSC sets a limit on the amount of their funds that can be outstanding at any one time. So we'd sort of like it in multiples of 3,500 because that's the maximum that a resident can recover. So for example, if their cap were 7,000, that means that 2 of their residents could participate at one time, and it would be on a rolling basis. So once the FSC was paid back, then those funds would be available again until the agreement was terminated, and the agreement could be terminated by the FSC at any time. And now that's speaking as my board member hat for Napa Firewise. As my Calistoga FSC hat, I'm going to be the first one to sign up for the program. I know we've already got a couple of residents who have inquired if there is anything that can be done to help them afford the work up front, and it will make our community safer being able to do this.
And if an FSC said, and I see your hand raised, Lon, I'll just make a quick point and then we can get to you. If an FSC said, hey, we'd like to set aside $7,000 for this, in essence, we will take on no more than 2 applicants at any given time, I presume. And then in essence, we would just, that $7,000, once it's used, redeployed. I mean, if over the timing, we could potentially allow that to help out 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, only 2 at a time, of course, because we don't want to get overextended. But the objective is to use those funds in sort of a transitory way and just keep recycling them to act as this bridging mechanism for folks who don't have the resources. It's a very clever approach. Piper deserves great credit for it.
Lon, do you still have a question?
Do you need to unmute, Lon? We can't hear you. Maybe we lost Lon.
I think Lon is trying to unmute himself. Lon, is that true? Nod if it is. Okay, we can't hear
We
you,
can't hear
Lon.
you.
You're not unmuted.
If you want to drop the question in the chat, we can read it. If you want to just type it into the chat feature. Anybody else in our audience today that has questions maybe about it? Let's look in the chat and see if there's other questions. Will do. Unable to unmute. Gretchen makes a good point. It also lets the members of the FSC feel like the money that is raised from them is going to really good work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just love to add that one of the things that we've been struggling with is, as we have our conversations about this grant, is the spirit of trying to have those who are, the low income / disadvantaged be able to access this, to make it accessible. And this seemed like such a elegant solution to get to that. So I was really excited when Piper brought this up, because again, it is a lot of money to front if you have, a very limited income. So to the extent that we can get even a handful of these done, I think it'll make such an impact to each of the communities where it occurs.
Can we get any sort of indication of interest from the FSCs? Is there anyone else who thinks they might participate in this program?
And there was a question that just came up about income. The low income threshold is $80,000 for an individual or $160,000 for a household.
So hi, Gretchen here from Diamond Mountain. I would say it's an easy yes from us, although I obviously would run it through our steering committee meeting next month, but it's an easy yes. And due to our particular unique location, we probably don't have that many individuals that would utilize the program, but we'd be very happy to participate in case there was anybody that could utilize it. And it's very clever and a wonderful creative idea. I love it a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. I was pretty excited about it. So thank you. Thank you for that affirmation, Gretchen. All right. Anyway, what we probably will do, we'll send something out to all of you to see, because I'm assuming that you may have to discuss it with your FSC, but we'd like to get this going as quickly as we can, because the Defensible Space Grant will pretty much close out by the end of the year. And I think there's some people who would be able to take advantage of it between now and then.
And it would roll into our new defensible space program, that this mechanism we would continue, right, Piper?
Right. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
next year, there's still another defensible space grant opportunity that would roll forward.
Yes, we were awarded another CAL FIRE grant, and it has money that where our intention is to sort of work on moving those funds through the system for any folks that roll over from this program. And we're on a roll right now, so we've got our system's really working, and we don't think, while we have the money for 3 or 4 years, we feel pretty confident that we'll be able to work through the money within next year, maybe a little bit into 2026.
Okay, cool.
I have a quick question, Deborah Russell Broman. Do you think that we could send out an e-blast to everybody and ask them as well if they have a neighbor or somebody that needs assistance, and then do a shareable post for social media, and then we can list the FSCs that are participating?
I don't see why not. I think as long as we have a fairly good number of FSCs who are participating, because it might be very frustrating if there are only 2 or 3, and a lot of the people who would use it are in FSCs that aren't participating.
Yeah, and I understand that, but
But yes, I think if we get a good response to this from the FSC leads and FSCs who are participating, I don't see any reason why we couldn't publicize it broadly.
because I think that may help.
Or go ahead, Deborah.
Oh, I was just saying, I think that may help, because most of the people that come to the meetings, I haven't heard them say they couldn't afford to take care of their defensible space. So it's other people that we want to reach out to that maybe are working all the time and they can't come to these meetings or whatever, or they have kids and they can't come to the meetings. So maybe that's one way to reach out to them.
Yeah, and one that we found in Calistoga was because I was talking to the vice mayor, and she had been approached by someone who lives in the area. So there are, I think, a number of ways to find out, but you're right. It would be to broadly do this, and that's also a good way to build your database of residents.
One thing I thought we might go back. I think we answered JR's question, but as I read his question again, I'm not sure I understand it. JR, I don't know if you can come off mute, but you're saying what is the income threshold between the 50% and the 100%? Do you just mean what's the income threshold that qualifies for 100%? Which is how I think we answered it.
No, you did. Sorry. I could have phrased that a little bit better.
Okay. Yeah. So there is no sliding scale, right, Piper? It's just 50%, or if you qualify, it's 100%. There's no sort of, yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then there was, Lon, you mentioned a couple of things to confirm. 10,000 per year per FSC. I'm not sure. You get your FSC financial statement. I don't know what's in there, but it rolls over. It's not a use it or lose it. So whatever money is in the FSC is, it's in your report. I think that hopefully answers your question. And then you said, could you set it up as a percentage, like up to 80% of your funds could be utilized for this, I think is what you're asking. And the answer would be yes, we could make that arrangement, right, Piper?
I think so. You mean 80% of the FSC funds could be used?
Yes.
Is
Like
that
if they
what
had
they're saying?
10,000, yeah, if they had 10,000, they could say you can use up to 8,000 of it or something like that. For this
Yeah,
kind of
as long as there was a way of tracking that so you know what it is, it's probably easier to manage a specific number, but I think we probably would be able to figure out a percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my mute situation straightened out, and thank you for the answer to both those questions. I think it's a great plan. I support it, and when it comes time to figuring out what we want to designate from the FSC budget, just let me know.
Okay, we'll probably go out, I would say, next week at the latest to the FSCs. Lori, do you think so?
Yeah, what I'll plan to do is I'm going to send this slide and a bit of an overview so that the FSCs can share it with their steering committee or membership. So I think that's what is being requested, so they have a chance to talk this over amongst their FSC.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
Megan, we can absolutely send you the details in writing. We've got the specifics about what the income limits are, et cetera. So we can send you the information. It's also we'll send you the link to the thing, but we can get you all that information and the specifics around it.
Absolutely.
How are you verifying income? We have quite a few residents on fixed incomes, but I don't know their actual financial situation. Piper or Lori, do you want to answer that one?
We are asking for the first page or 2 pages of their most recent tax return with the Social Security number blocked out and looking at the adjusted gross income line.
And that's actually the process that's in place right now, separate from this. That's just for all of our DSpace. That's how we validate income across this grant.
Right.
So that's not a change for this program.
Right. For anyone who wants to qualify for the 100% reimbursement, we do that now. With this, we would just do it a little bit earlier. So very easy on the FSCs and really not much more stress on the Napa Firewise staff, but a big benefit for the residents.
And I think earlier to Piper's point, and one of the questions that came in, or one of the observations maybe from Gretchen, we would use this as an opportunity to say, you can thank your FSC for blah, blah, blah. We would use this to promote the FSC and the fact that you all are utilizing some funds to help ease the access to the program for folks that qualify.
Right. And then can I swing into, I know it's later on the agenda, but may I swing into the evacuation folder?
Swing away,
okay.
Piper. Swing away.
Thank you. So another program that we're trying to launch, and this comes out of the fact we just had our FSC annual meeting. And at the meeting, our fire chief said that one of his dreams is that whenever residents evacuate, they would leave on their front door or on their garage a bright pink plastic folder or envelope with a picture of their property and things marked, like you can see. This is one that I just did for mine. Generator shut off, electrical service shut off, propane shut off, where the water tank is, where the water outlet is, the generator, whether there's a pool, how big the pool is. Anyway, there are all these things that he would love to have. And so we thought that it might be a fun project for Napa Firewise and the FSCs to do if we could get these plastic envelopes made with big letters that said first responder on them, and could then have a set of stickers made with all of these different kinds of stickers for the things, and then a sheet of instructions and information. I've just actually put that all together today. And the FSCs could distribute them to their residents, and the residents could put these packets together and put it with their go bag. And if they have to evacuate, put it on their house so that the firefighters would know where all of this stuff is. It's information, and this was confirmed by Christopher Thompson too. This is information that would save the firefighters a lot of time and give them a lot of information. And we thought that this could be jointly done with the FSCs and Napa Firewise. What do you all think?
Hey, this is Rob. I think that's a great idea. It's the first time that I've heard about this, but and so it's new to me. I'm not sure if any of my partners heard about it, but it's a great idea, and I think it's definitely money worth spent. So,
Yeah, I would say new to me as well. Support the plan. The only thing I would suggest is working with the fire marshal's office on a joint set of iconology. We definitely have that within our tablet systems, and so I think we can do a really good partnership with the marshal's office to make sure we have something that's universal for everybody. This is really cool. So thank you for this project idea, Piper.
Okay. Eric, you want to get together on this?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? So this is something that obviously more information is better than nothing. And I know that more and more people have been installing. We've been really pushing signage as far as instead of a book or a binder, there's been a lot of property owners that we've been able to work with as far as creating some sort of and a permanent sign. So as soon as you like 20 feet after you go through the main gate, they have some sort of directional sign where it identifies the location of the property and it defines this, where is the emergency shut off, the any utilities that are on the property. So there's a lot of a lot of property owners that are already doing this, but at least on an actual, sign, green reflective sign. And and it is helpful, to be honest with you. So yeah, let's get together on this.
I'm going to jump in and say this. I mean, why not have it be redundant? Some property owners are never going to put a sign. That's like much too much work, or they don't know what to do. But this is really accessible to the average person. And then the bigger property owners can do a sign as well. And then I want to jump in and ask Eric, some fire safe counselors are looking into the beacon box, right? Of having a box at the bottom of a road entrance to a neighborhood. I think Spring Mountain's doing a big work on that. Hi. And So is the beacon box going to be rendered not that special or important if we do the individual properties with their own pink envelope at the gate or at the door? You know, can you
I
can you
think
weigh in on that, Eric, and others?
one way to think about it, and I know Brandon's got his hand up too, is in the same way that there's like when you depart, you can get the little evacuation flag that has the wire on it and you can wrap it around your post office box. I think the intention and what Piper's come up with, what we're working on here, is something that in an event you could basically, tie it to your front doorknob or whatever. I think it's almost like, Piper, I think I'm right. It's during an event, right? It's not meant to be permanent. It's meant to be something that you take the time to build a little map, maybe laminate it, have a couple sheets that show where stuff is,
Mhm.
and then if we were in a red flag warning situation, you might, attach it to your whatever post office box,
I
or not
love the
your
idea
box
of the
or
pink
something.
and I love the idea of the envelope, and I think that that's like really accessible to like every household. It's
Yeah,
fun and
it's
it can be
very,
fun. And though, if we promote that and make that happen, does it render the beacon box
I would
really
think it's just
not
a
that
and.
important, or do you want both?
I
And
think
I'm not saying
it's an and, not an or.
Yeah,
okay.
And
I would
Brandon,
agree.
or sorry, Brandon's got his hand up too.
Well, if I might chime in, I think the way that I look at it as a first responder, you're coming into a community. When you look at the beacon box, that's going to be for a community. But I think there's nothing wrong, and I agree, there's nothing wrong with having individual signage at each property. That way, if you're coming in, you probably have three, four engines coming into a community, just throwing a number out there. Then if you're tasked with doing a structure protection for one individual residence, if you didn't get that go to into the beacon box, now you still rely on having something at that individual property that you're gonna do some structure protection for. So I like and instead of or, so I
And
think and it's applicable.
multi-layered. It's a layer cake.
I agree with Eric 100%. Having worked with the Beacon Box is more of a generalization of the community, and it'd be difficult to have this information, this granular information, on the same maps as for the Beacon Box. So whatever the individual property owner can do to have this granular information, I think is beneficial. So I think it's an and as well, Eric. I think you said that very well. Thanks.
So I'll do you one additional further. We're on the doorstep of launching this out of the fire marshal's office. So there's a community connect portal that'll come out very soon that will actually allow you to submit some of this information as well. So while you're making this digital map and you put it on your door, which I think is great, you'll be able to submit some of that into our system, which will end up in our tablets as well. So it's Gretchen, to your point, it's a very much a layered cake. It gets into our systems. It's on the door. It's in the beacon box. As many ways that we can get it out there. Because if someone doesn't have the tablet, they can hit the box. If they can't get to the box, it's on your door. I think it's just as many ways as we can. I think it's great.
JR, is that field maps that you're referring to that you keep that information on?
No, it's a software called First Do that we're spinning up a module out of our fire marshal's office that'll kind of work in tandem with our tablet command software.
Got it. Thanks.
All right. Well, thanks for all the input. Then we will move forward with this. And Eric, I'll work with you. I've got a list of icons of stickers that can be amended by you. So I'll run them by you first, and then we'll move forward.
Absolutely, yeah. Looking forward to it, and yeah, let's partner up. And then what we can do from there is we can start working with the St. Helena, Napa City, AmCan. That way, it's unified throughout the entire county.
Right, and we'll make sure that everybody gets the key, the legend that shows them what they are.
Copy that. Thanks, Piper.
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much, Piper. I know you also have to sign off early. One of the other things that we were talking about with this folder project also is that we've heard loud and clear from the FSCs that they're looking for like what I would call project in a box. Like, what are the things that we can execute on as a fire safe council, either to help with their Firewise certification or just in general to engage their community. And this seemed to like tick on that, really being of assistance and adding value, but also an accessible project for FSCs to administer. So it just felt like a great one to proceed with, and I'm glad to get all the feedback. So thank you. And then I know we're wildly off schedule, but we will persevere and try and move quickly. I know that Joe, you also wanted to give a quick update and talk to everyone about Meter Me.
Yeah, so this is a follow-up on, I think maybe 2 or 3 months back at the FSC Leads meeting, we surfaced that Meter Me, who has some technology, local company that has some technology that allows you to put monitoring devices on your water storage and on your hydrants to relay to tablet command, the system that JR was talking about, your hydrant pressure level and the amount of water in your tanks. They are interested in basically doing like a cost share or a promotional thing, a pilot program with FSCs where they subsidize either the implementation or the ongoing licensing costs. In general, these devices are fairly inexpensive to install. And so again, just trying to Lori's point, trying to think of ideas that the FSCs could use to promote certain kinds of resilience activities, whether it's the using your funds to offset the cost share portion for folks, or these envelopes with maps, the Meter Me thing. They continue to sort of voice their interest in working with fire safe councils to do some kind of a pilot program where they could basically offset some of the costs of either implementation or licensing for the ongoing monitoring or the costs of the devices themselves. And so we wanted to surface that to see whether any of the fire safe councils were interested. I'm pretty sure you all are familiar with the Meter Me technology because it is out there quite a bit, but if not, without going into too much detail and getting us further off schedule, happy to sort of talk about this concept with you all. Okay, let's keep going. So let us know if that's something that you're interested in.
Thank you, Joe. I want to turn it over now to, we'll start with the County Fire Administrator's Office. So I don't think Dave is on. JR, did you want to speak to these points?
Yep, I'll take it. And sorry for the apparel. I'm in transition as well. We're interviewing 8 recruits for our fire academy out of the Angwin Station tonight, which we're really excited about. So it's really cool. But out of the County Fire Administrator's Office, a couple different things. First of all, want to welcome Eric Mycroft. Eric is the new project manager for the Napa County Fire Administrator's Office. Eric is going to be spending the majority of time in our federal grant program, which you're all aware we have 3 of those totaling a significant amount of money. And so we're very happy to have him aboard. And I believe, Eric, you're floating around here. I don't know if you want to say a 2-second hello.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Mycroft, and as JR said, yes, I'm on week 3.5 now of my new project manager job with the county. I'm new to fire, but I'm no stranger to working emergency in the Napa County area. Was an OES working COVID and fires for well over a year. And I just want to say how happy I am to be here and everything we've discussed tonight, the programs, especially I think the cost share assistance program it's amazing. It's something really special. I think I can't say enough nice things about it. And again, I'm just happy to be here.
So if you see the amazing beard around the county, that's Eric. So 2 different things, or 2 additional things that we kind of wanted to mention. And I'm glad Lori has it on here because I was fiercely looking for the address, and I'm glad I was right. There's a home in the Silverado Country Club area, actually the second one that's being built by RSG 3D. It's a fire resistant home, and it's a very interesting and really cool technology that I've had the pleasure of looking at this house. It is a fire resistant home. There was one that was up on Cobb and is the only home that survived the fires that went through Cobb in that particular area, really kind of showcasing the construction that this company does. So it's under, like I said, it's under construction, 198 Westgate Drive. They're open to having folks swing by tomorrow and Friday if you're interested in taking a look at this technology. It's a new, I shouldn't say it's new, but it's a spin on a foam and concrete or gunite construction that is, I will say, very fascinating. So if you have a few minutes to go swing by there in the next 2 days, do so. The chipping program is winding down. There's some totals that are up there. I think that I put updated last week there you go, October 4. So a little about 2 weeks ago. That's available as far as the yards chipped and labor hours. We'll definitely be keeping that up on the weekly or every other week as we go through towards the end of the season. Our last day to apply for the chipping program will be the 8th of November. That'll give us approximately, a week to finish all of our jobs and kind of wrap and shut down the program by the 15th. So if you can get that out to your fire safe councils, let them know that the end is near. To please get their applications in, and we'd love to get as much as we can continually chipped out through this great free, and again, free program. One little kind of tag onto this that I'll mention. We are in discussions, my supervisor and I, and as well as with the marshal's office, to kind of look at what our schedule is going to look like at the beginning of the year. We are going to do something very similar to what we did last year, where we spend a certain amount of time in a particular community from the beginning. So we'll spend about the first month and a half or so and say, hey, we're going to be in this space in this week. So I hope to have that inked here before our next Fire Safe Council meeting and get that out. And speaking with Lori last week, she had a really good thought and point that it'd be helpful to know that ahead of time as you guys are working on cleanup days. So I know Deer Park last year we did kind of an audible, moved our week that we were doing. So it was after the community cleanup day, and we were able to kind of take advantage of the amazing work that the Fire Safe Council did there. So we will get a draft schedule out here, like I said, in the next few weeks for you guys to take a look at. If there's, we need to maneuver things around a little bit, we'll do our best to do that. So we can kind of work again in conjunction with some of your cleanup activities here coming in the spring. So November 8th, that's the day. Take that away. If you forget anything else I said, totally fine. November 8th. Have a good day, you guys.
And Sherry and I plan to be out at the house at the fire resistant house in Silverado on Friday afternoon. So maybe we will see some of you there. We're planning to, learn a little bit about it and speak to people about Napa Firewise as they come by. So hopefully we'll see you there.
Yeah, we thought it would be fun to have kind of a pop-up. Depending on your schedule, as JR mentioned, the owner of the RSG 3D will be there, and they're going to be putting concrete on the outside of the house next week. So for right now, you can still see what the construction looks like on the inside. Otherwise, it's just going to look like a regular stucco house. Anyway, we thought we'd be there for a couple of hours, and that way we can show up in force and ask all the same questions instead of having like a trickle of people throughout a couple of days for the owner.
Okay. Thank you, JR. We can move over. I know we have the rest of our Napa County Fire and CAL FIRE team. We're so delighted to have people able to make this meeting. So thank you. I just wanted to open it up if any of you had updates or anything you wanted to share.
Yeah, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but go ahead, Eric.
No, go ahead, Chief.
Okay.
You got the gold badge.
No, I'll just touch on just a couple quick updates, at least on the CAL FIRE side. I'm not sure if Chief Ryan or Chief Link made it on, but as far as an update from the CAL FIRE side, as of right now, our status, we're still fully staffed with 31 engines in the unit. We're still working on filling quite a few positions. Obviously, the 3 in Napa County right now has been flown. We already had interviews. They did end up doing a second interview with all of them. And so we're waiting any day now. I feel like we've been saying that for 6 months, but we're hoping that we're pretty hopeful that it'll get filled here hopefully in the next couple of weeks, hopefully sooner than that. But we'll eventually fill the 14 spot, which is the northern part of the valley. Isham and also Chief Greenberg, they've been doing a phenomenal job, not only taking on all the projects in their own battalion, but also picking up all of the leftover work that's still needs to be done in the northern part of the valley with no battalion chiefs up there. So hopefully we'll get those filled here shortly and very soon. We are, as far as the department staffing model, we're planning on staying staffed with our seasonal firefighters at least through end of November, beginning of December, and then and doing a 3-month break, and then bringing our seasonals back on. Usually we upstaff, just depending on weather, incident activity throughout the state, and also budgetary constraints. So it usually will kind of be tailored starting in April, end of May, and then also into June and July is when we go to peak staffing. That might change a little bit this year, just due to a lot of the fuels work that really needs to be done in the winter months. And so we've recognized that as a department. We've been pushing that for quite a long time, and it looks like that they want to go that way. So that'll be good. We'll be able to bring on our firefighter one-hand crew, since they are now permanently blue booked. So hopefully we can bring them back in March after they get laid off in December. And then especially with our engines, keeping our engines staffed probably around the same time, end of March, beginning of April, as long again as there's a budget to do so, and the state executives still are planning for that. So another big change for us as a department is we have also changed. We had a new contract renewal, so we did change a little bit of what our schedules are going to look like. Shouldn't really affect you guys too much. We are going to an alternating shift. So myself, Chief Greenberg, Chief Isham, we currently work our shifts, our 3-day, and then have our 4 days off. We get those 4 days, and it stays that way for the whole calendar year. We're going to be shifting that about every 2 months. Our shifts are going to be rotating backwards 2 days. So it'll rotate. It'll be a little odd, I think, especially for us, because we're not used to that. But I shouldn't say it's going to affect you guys, but it might confuse you guys when you think we work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and all of a sudden we move to a Saturday, Sunday, Monday for another 2 months, and then rotate back again. So the positives to that is we are also going to be going traditionally staffed in a couple of the stations within our administrative unit, and going to have more permanent positions to where we will have more engine staff during the winter months, winter preparedness months, which will be huge for us to put together more engines to help prescribe fire, prescribe burns, and more fuel reduction work. So I don't want to steal your thunder, Eric, but that's all I got for the CAL FIRE side. If you guys got any questions for me.
All right. So thanks, Chief. Well, so it's hard to top that. So what we got, a couple things. So this year we had to end our defensible space program earlier. So we were traditionally a CAL FIRE staffed fire marshal's office, and so this year we transitioned into a full-time Napa County fire department staff. So we just had our last deputy fire marshal take a promotional position with the state fire marshal's office. So because we had one person short, we had to close our fire marshal's defensible space program, close it earlier this year. But we have been doing some hiring. So this year we have someone that's going to be starting this upcoming Monday. That person's going to be our fire inspector / code compliance officer. So essentially that person's taking over my previous position. However, they're going to be working directly under with me as far as the defensible space program, because part of my duties, I'll still oversee the defensible space program. So then in addition to that, this year we obviously hired 4 defensible space inspectors during this busy season. So what we ended up, as a result, we ended up doing a little bit over 4,000 defensible space inspections throughout the county. And so the goal is for next year for us to up that by 2. So we're shooting for 6 defensible space inspectors next year. And the person that we just hired that's going to start Monday, I'm going to be working with this fire inspector and throughout the winter months. That way, when we start our defensible space program next year in the spring, this person's going to mainly focus on doing abatement warrants. And so that's going to be coming up next year. The other thing also is we started a Napa County Fire Marshal's Office social media platform. So we're doing Facebook and Instagram, and that's basically being ran by myself. And what I'm doing is little by little, we're going to start creating more content, and it's going to be all information in relation to fuel reduction and any fire prevention work, from smoke alarms to, the Piper's programs and anything related to Firewise. So, in other words, anything that we can assist you with on promoting any events or any fuel reduction projects that, maybe the county doesn't have a part of, but it's directly with Firewise. I'm working with Stephanie, and I'll be more than happy to promote that consistent message. But also, I know that we have a couple things coming up as far as fuel reduction projects. So we're going to be basically letting the community know what type of projects we have, because there's a lot of stuff that's being done in the county. I feel that we need to continue promoting it and kick it up a notch and promote it more. That way people know that work is being done. Not that they don't, but I know we're always getting questions on where are we at, even though we have this awesome website and NCFF where people can go in and look at all the projects. But, let's be realistic. Unless you're, in the Fire Safe Council, Firewise, or us, most people just want to see, the location and a couple pictures and a small abbreviation of a scope of work. So that's something that I'm going to continue working on with the Firewise team. And then chipping. So I know JR mentioned the chipping. The chipping service is actually overseen by JR and soon Eric Mycroft. But one of the things that we talked about is what we're going to be doing is I want to start getting together with the Fire Safe Council, each individual Fire Safe Council, as we prepare for next year. That way, as JR and his team starts developing a calendar for chipping services in certain fire safe councils. The way that I'm going to be helping is through social media, but also coming out to fire safe council meetings and promoting and letting people know that this is the calendar, this is when, and this is how, and this is what to expect. That way, when next year comes around and JR and his team start kicking up that program, then everybody's piles are ready to go, and it's already known that we're going to be coming out with the chipping program. So that's something that I'm going to be assisting with. The other thing is Fire Safe Council meetings. There was a time where I used to get all these invites to Fire Safe Council meetings. Please continue to send me those. It's been a while since I've received one, and sometimes I'm getting them last minute. I just found out about Piper's amazing meeting at 4 o'clock on Friday in Charles Creek Winery. I just found out about it an hour before, so I wish I would have been a part of that. But if you guys can let me know ahead of time, and if obviously time permits, I'll be more than happy to make those, because there's a lot of information and there's a lot of value that I find working with the Fire Safe Council leads for those meetings. And then as far as projects, please let me know if you have individual projects within your fire safe councils, or if you need assistance with fish and wildlife. I know that I've worked in the past with Silverado Highlands Fire Safe Council, but if you have individual smaller scale projects that you want me to scope out or you need some assistance with, I'll be more than happy to come out and work with you on that and give you some opinions. Obviously, I got on my notebook. I have some, and actually, I just noticed Piper just sent me an email with our previous discussion. But if you have any beacon box ideas and you want to put them up, and if you're looking for a right place or where to put them up, let me know, and I'll come out through these winter months, and then I'll start scoping out and directing some of those areas. So that way we can scope them out and we know exactly where they're going to be at. And that's basically it for me. You guys have my email address and my work cell phone, and some of you have my personal cell phone, but feel free to reach out anything you need. We appreciate all the work that you guys do.
Eric, I invited you to our Spring Mountain Fire Safe Council meeting on Friday, 10 a.m. We're looking at the map on the beacon boxes. So be careful what you ask for, but what you wish for.
Give me a week's notice at least.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
And I will tag on to that. The fire administration office would absolutely love to be at a lot of your councils as well, and at least come one time and introduce. So definitely, if you get that to Eric, I know he'll pass it along to us as well.
Great. Thank you, guys.
I have a comment and a question, if I may.
Go ahead, Brandon.
My comment is this, I monitor fires throughout the district with the Watch Duty Pro, and I can see the wind speed and I can see the air traffic. And I just my comment is this, I want to just say that the job that you guys are doing is unbelievable. The amount of support and air support that's deployed and the quickness that it's deployed is really fascinating. And so I want to say thank you. And it's really great to see all the assets that are stomping out these fires with such quickness. So having said that, my question is this. I'd like to confirm, what is the wind speed? Is there a mile/hour wind speed threshold where CAL FIRE aircraft is grounded? Because I'd like to know, I'm in charge of a number of staff members, and we'd like to know if there's a fire in the area and the wind speed is at a certain rate, if we need to be concerned or when we need to panic.
Yeah, I can get the exact speed for you. I think it also has to do and depend on where they're taking off from. And if wind speeds are too high as they're approaching type of thing, and they need to land, it's really a case-by-case situation. But it really depends on the weather, how clear it is, and also the wind speeds of where they take off from. They'll always try, but that's usually the starting point right there. And if they run into those winds, then it's case-by-case situation. But I can do some research for you and get the exact speeds.
That'd be great, because so if I'm hearing you correctly, if they can take off at a place where the wind's not terrible, but the wind at the incident is really strong, are they able to still deploy their assets at that location?
Yeah, I know we've had to ground air resources in the past due to wind speed. So I just don't know what the threshold is, but I can get back to that.
Thank you.
I would also tag on to that and be very careful of verbiage. I don't think you meant panic, but I think using that verbiage and kind of, what we're talking about and make that we what the fire department and the sheriff's office is doing as far as our evacuation process is what we really need to be paying attention to. So I know we have a lot of great technology at our fingertips, and Watch Duty is amazing, but also want to be very cognizant of what the official sources are.
Got it. I appreciate that. I'm responsible for a number of staff members, and so we need to make a decision on whether or not we need to evacuate or shelter in place on a particular incident. So, and I know that it's a case-by-case basis, but those are decisions that need to be made at the moment.
And then to piggyback on that, Brandon, is what truly is going to define whether you need to shelter in place or evacuate, it's going to be on the fire itself. It's in the case by case. It's not necessarily based on aircraft or not. I mean, in all honesty, I can tell you that the firefighting is happening on the ground. Typically, when you have air tankers, all the air tankers are doing is dropping retardant. It's not extinguishing the fire. It's keeping it in check and buying time so the ground crews can actually go in. So with that being said, putting on my PIO hat, the best thing that I can tell you is, always follow what, if there's emergency, if there is a fire, and if the sheriffs issue an evacuation order or warning, then continue following those, regardless of what type of equipment is in the area or not. That's the best thing that I can tell you. And if you don't feel safe or people don't feel safe, I always say just pull the trigger and evacuate.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'd also tag on to that. That was perfectly said, Eric. And for the most part, if there's ever in doubt question, we always tell people to evacuate as well. But I would say more than 95, closer to 99% of the time, it's going to be an evacuate rather than shelter in place. A lot of times our shelter in places are going to be like the hospitals type of thing, where construction is not wood, more non-combustible materials type of thing, and it's going to take too long to get everyone out of a hospital. Unrealistic in an event, depending on where the hospital is located and the terrain, what the building materials are, and it's safer just to keep everyone inside, turn HVAC off type of thing. So I'm not sure if that also answered your question, but I also want to tell you thank you. We do appreciate that comment you said earlier in the support. So
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I know we're a little past the hour. We will plan to send out our updates in an email to everyone with the things we were going to talk about, billboards, financial reports, etc. So we'll send an email out to everyone, and we're always reachable, as you know, at Wildfire Preparedness. You can reach out to Sherry. You can reach out to myself. Hey,
Lori, we lost your audio.
Sorry, I'm a little bit, as you can see, I've also lost light. I cannot find the light switch here, and I'm losing power and light. But we just wanted to thank everyone for attending this evening and how great it has been to have Napa County Fire and CAL FIRE on this call. So thank you, Battalion Chiefs. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And again, we'll be sending out our updates that we were going to cover tonight in an email to everybody. So thank you so much. And with that, I would say have a good evening to everyone.
Thank you.
Night, everybody.